right, so this is going to be another movie review. This one's called At the Circus, 1939 comedy film starring the Marx brothers, Groucho, Harpo, and Chico, released by MGM, which they help save a circus from bankruptcy. The film contains Groucho Marx's classic rendition of Lydia the Tattooed Lady. I wasn't impressed by Groucho singing. I'm giving this 3 out of 5 stars. I thought it was all right. Overall, I'm giving the disc 3 out of 5 stars. The supporting cast includes Florence Rice, Kenny Baker, Margaret, Dumont, and Eve Arden. The songs including Lydia the Tattooed Lady, Two Blind Loves, and Step Up and Take a Bow were written by the team of Harold Arlen and Yip Harburg. The villain is portrayed by Nat Pendleton, who played the same character in Horse Feathers, 1932, and The Great Ziegfeld, 1936. The Marx brothers were still under contract to Paramount when Horse Feathers came out in 1932. I haven't seen it, but I can tell you I like the Paramount and the RKO Marx brothers better than the Paramount, the lamestream version. The movie poster says, "Keep the world laughing." Anyways. Goliath, the circus strongman, and the midget little Professor Adam, both employed by Wilson's Wonder Circus, are accomplices of bad guy John Carter, who is trying to take over the circus owned by Jeff Wilson. Julie Randall, Jeff's girlfriend, performs a horse act in the circus. Jeff has hidden $10,000 in cash, which he owes to Carter, in the cage of Gibraltar the gorilla, which is just a guy in a monkey suit. When Jeff goes to retrieve the money to give to Carter from Gibraltar's cage on the circus train, Carter has Goliath and Adam knock out Jeff and steal the $10,000. Jeff's friend and circus employee Antonio Tony Pirelli, played by Chico, summons attorney J. Cheever Loophole, played by Groucho, to investigate the situation. Loophole discovers Carter's mole, Peerless Pauline, is hiding the money, but she outwits him and he fails to retrieve it. Yeah, they're walking upside down the roof and she's got it in her cleavage. But she's going like this. And then she drops it, but she catches it. She falls and catches it. Later, Tony and Punchy. Punchy's played by Harpo. Search Goliath's stateroom on the circus train for the money, but are unsuccessful. That's when you see lots of pillow feathers flying around. With Carter about to foreclose on the circus, Loophole discovers that Jeff's auntie is a wealthy Mrs. Susanna Dukesbury, played by Margaret Dumont, who's in a couple of other Marx Brothers movies. And he tricks her into paying $10,000 for the Wilson Wonder Circus to entertain the Newport for $100 instead of a performance by French conductor Jardinier and his symphony orchestra. I think Dukesbury disowned his nephew. She disowned him. The audience is delighted with the circus when the blustery Jardinier arrives. Loophole, who delayed the Frenchman's arrival by implicating him in a dope ring, disposes of the conductor and his orchestra by having Tony and Punchy cut out the moorings on the floating bandstand as they play Wagner's prelude to Act 3 of Lohengrin at the water's edge. Why didn't they just stop playing when they were floating out in in the water. I don't know. They kept playing throughout the whole thing. Okay. Meanwhile, Carter and his henchmen try to burn down the circus, but they are thwarted by Tony and Punchy, along with the only witness to the robbery, Gibraltar the gorilla. All right. So comedy, it says, comedy legend Buster Keaton's career had long been on the downside, and he was reduced to working for scale as at MGM as a gag man. Keaton's complex and elaborate sight gags did not mesh well with the Marx Brothers brand of humor, and it was sometimes a source of friction between the comedian and the brothers. When Groucho called Keaton on the incompatibility of his gags with the Marx Brothers, Keaton responded, "I'm only doing what Mr. Mayer asked me to do. You guys don't need help." Hundreds of girls applied for the film, with 18 finally chosen after rigid tests. They had to be expert ballet dancers, have good singing voices, and they had to be able to prove all this by doing a toe dance on a cantering bareback horse while singing in key. 4 of the girls were former circus riders. Several of the other girls had ridden in rodeos, either professionally or as amateurs, and the rest had been riding most of their lives. Okay, I like the some of the music in this. By the way, I'm in Belmont Library. You probably haven't seen me here for a few years, but I used to do movie reviews in this room a few years ago, before the COVID hysteria. The name of Groucho's character in the film, Jake Cheever Loophole, recalls that of real-life financier J. Cheever Cowden, who had ties to the film industry. In 1936, Cowden led a group of investors who had loaned $750,000 to Carl Laemmle and his son Carl Laemmle Jr. to finance the film Showboat. Before the release of the film, the investors demanded repayment, but Laemmle's did not have the funds to pay it back. Because of this, Cowden was able to take control of Laemmle's Universal Pictures studio and served as the company's president until 1946. Showboat proved to be a financial success, and had the loan not been called for repayment until after the film's release, the Laemmles would have been able to repay the loan and retain ownership of Universal. Groucho was age 48 during the filming of At the Circus, and his hairline had begun receding. As such, he took to wearing a toupee in the film and would do the same for the following Marx Brothers film, Go West. Groucho as J. Cheever Loophole was originally introduced in a key scene set in a courtroom which was filmed, but was cut from the picture. One of Groucho's oft-repeated stories about the filming At the Circus concerned the gorilla skin that the actor wore. On the Dick Cavett show, taped June 13, 1969, he said that the actor was too hot inside the skin under the bright lights, and during lunch he went to the studio commissary and poked several holes in the skin with an ice pick. Upon discovering the holes, the manager of the gorilla's skin became extremely angry, and he took the skin away. MGM scoured Southern California for a replacement and finally located an orangutan skin in San Diego. An orangutan is much smaller than a gorilla, so a shorter actor had to be hired to fit inside it. Groucho said that he received many inquiries about this, and some viewers he happened to meet would ask him why the gorilla was noticeably smaller in the second half of the picture. Reviews from critics were generally not as positive for those of earlier Marx Brothers films. I guess I'm in good company. Frank S. Nugent of the New York Times wrote that in all charity and with a very real twinge of regret, We must report that their new frolic is not exactly frolicsome. That is, in cruel fact, a rather dispirited imitation of former Marx successes, a matter more of perspiration than inspiration, and not at all up to the Marx standards, foot high though they may be, of daffy comedy. Variety called the film broad, ribald fun and familiar pattern to early pictures of the Marx Brothers. I don't agree with that. Film Daily wrote, the mad Marxmen have never been funnier, nor have they had a better story in which to cavort than at the circus. I think Duck Soup was way better. Harrison's reports called it about the worst Marx picture seen in years. Children should enjoy it, but hardly adults. Yeah, that's more accurate. John Mosher of New Yorker wrote that the Marxists seem to be trying harder in this picture than they were in Room Service, but the achievement of novelty or surprise, the true Marx note, is never apparent. The November 11th, 1939 Ottawa Citizen described the film as a veritable riot of hilarity and possibly the nuttiest of the films that Groucho, Chico, and Harpo have perpetuated. I don't think so. I'm not crazy about it. I don't care to watch Harpo and Chico play their musical instruments. That part didn't impress me. The part that impressed me was when the black musicians came out of came out from under the circus cages and they started playing their musical instruments. But then when Harpo jumped on the harp, I wasn't interested anymore. My eyes were kind of looking away from the screen. All right, so let's go down my list because I added another one. Keep adding more and more and more and more and more and more. I'm going to click on these and then I'm going to type it on the side. So that way I don't have to keep scrolling down all the time. Bear with me. Okay. I can do this. Got the first one. I'm going to do. So I'm going to go down, scroll down 3 times. This isn't going to save any time, but at least when I get to it, I can say it all at once instead of in pieces. Okay, there's the other one. The forest. And last but not least, so Nat Pendleton was called Goliath in this one. Let me see what he was called in the other movie. The Great Ziegfeld. What was he called? He was called Eugene Sandow, the world's strongest man. That's what he was called. Okay, let's go down the list finally. I gotta take my son to baseball practice in about 7 minutes, so I better wrap this up pretty quick. Let's see. Keep scrolling. All right, I made it. I'm going to do this super fast. I got Frogtown 2, Return to Frogtown. I think that's 1993. The Wasp Woman, 1959. Jack London, 1943. The Monster of Piedras Blancas, 1959. The Crawling Hand, 1963. Invasion of the Animal People, 1959. The Jungle, 1952. One Body Too Many, 1944. Blood Warriors, 1993. Screaming Tiger, 1973. The Wild World of Batwoman, 1966. Queen of the Amazons, 1947. Hell Up in Harlem, 1973. Snow Beast, 1977. Platoon Leader, 1988. Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Reluctant Carpenter, TV episode 21. 1955. Mercenary Fighters, 1988. The Buckskin Lady, 1957. Stormcatcher, 1999. The Taking of Beverly Hills, 1991. The Manster, 1959. Bedside Manor, 1945, a.k.a. Her Favorite Patient. Dark Mountain, 1944. The Crater Monster, 1977. The Giant Spider Invasion. Stick, 1985. The Forest, 1982. That didn't help. I still got to scroll down. I think I can do this, though. Phantom from Space, 1953. The Dungeon of Horror, 1962. The Amazing Mr. X, 1948. Damnation Alley, 1977. The Most Dangerous Game, 1938. Shadow Warriors 2. Assault on Death. Something. 1999. Law of the Jungle, 1942. Blake of Scotland Yard, 1937. Kansas City Confidential, 1952. The White Cannibal Queen, 1980. Windjammer, 1937. Swampfire, 1946. Police Story 4. Blood Ring, 1991. Hostile Country, 1950. Rotor and The Wrong Road, 1937. All right. That's the end of my review. I tried to capture everything that was mentioned on Wikipedia, plus my own 2 cents worth nothing after inflation. So I'm ready for the Great McGinty. All right. I don't think I can get one more review in unless it's like a 10-minute short, but we'll see what's on the disc later.